this year. Without any further ado, let's go on to our what am I trying to say? The July challenge. Let me see. I think it's the little 3 dots that are by your name that allow you. No, I'm sorry. It's down at the. Mike, I need your help. Tell me again how you get your hand held up on.
It's the reactions at the bottom on the right. Reactions. There's a thumbs up or a
clapping hand, but I was thinking there was a way to put your hand up. Let me do this.
When you do the participants, there is a list and you can raise your hand.
Okay. So if you click on participants, it'll throw out the list of all the folks that are online tonight. Looks like we got about 24 of us. And if you highlight up there by the symbols and hit more, that's when you have no.
It says rename.
Linda's iPad is his hand is raised.
Right. I was just I'm not figuring out how to raise the hand. If you have trouble like me and you're not, oh, it's under chat. My wife just said.
How's that? Is Anthony's hands up?
Oh, there's the clap.
It appears at the bottom of the participants list that there's a raised hand button.
Where is it? All right. And there, okay. Yeah, it says raise hand.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at our list and just going down, I'm going to follow up last. So Linda, you're there with your iPad. You want to show us your challenge piece for this month?
I think she mistakenly hit the iPad. Oh, there we go. Another one.
It's a different Linda.
Good. Okay. All right.
All right.
Okay. I made a little bowl, and I originally wanted to wood burn along here, but that didn't really turn out. So instead, I did wood burning in the middle.
Oh, fun.
Wow.
Nice little pattern in the center.
Yeah. This is how it looks flat.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of fun when you put it in a round bowl.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Oh, Jesus.
And then one little one on the bottom.
Oh, there you go.
Cool. Mine.
That's
Good
cool.
job, Linda.
Yes.
And what do we got here?
This is a partially finished bowl I had laying around at the garage. And I tried to do some texturing just on the rim here. Tried a number of different things. And then always started over, so my bowl kept getting shallower. But the last thing I did was I put a wire brush on a drill and just roughed up the edge. You know, it's kind of cool in person. I don't know if I can really get it in there to where you can see it, but.
Yeah, it is hard to catch the light just right, but. Did you find it hard to take a perfectly good item and start doing things to it?
I've never made a perfectly good item.
Good answer. Good answer. Well, thank you guys for sharing that. We're going to move down to Ann Melina. You're next. What have you been doing on that big robust?
I tried a couple of different things. This was a spalted hackberry bowl that I cut a groove in and filled with milliput. So I did that one. And then I'd been wanting to try to inlay a piece of copper wire. So I turned a mesquite piece and then cut a groove here and tried to put it in, but I need to keep practicing. Couldn't get it to stay in flush and didn't really work, but I tried.
Well, that's the thing. You got to keep trying things until you get it to work, right?
Yep.
So
yeah,
good job. Good job. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you got your hand up. Mike Thomas.
Okay. I thought we had to make a sphere, and we had to go over to Anthony's and have it sandblasted. And so I made a sphere, and I went over to Anthony's, and he wasn't home. And so I was thinking that, you know, Anthony threads everything. And so I took this home, and I put it back on the lathe, and I got my threading tools out, you know, my hand chasers, and I started putting it in here. Anyway, I try to do it on 3 axes. The thing is, if you don't get it exactly, I mean, within, you know, 0.002 millimeters of perfectly, you know, square around, one side's going to be a lot deeper than the other.
Yeah.
And here's a good example of a light cut going into a deeper cut.
Deep cut.
So anyway, that's what it is.
Well, you heard the same thing I did, Mike, because it was a sphere, an oak sphere with sandblasting.
Yeah, and we had to go over to Anthony's to do it. Remember, that's what Larry said.
I know. I told Anthony that, and he said, "I'm going to have to get my sandblaster worked on."
I think he was out doing that when I went over to his house because he wasn't home.
He wasn't prepared for the whole club to show up at his house, I don't think. All right. Thanks, Mike. Mark Turner, it looks like you've got something to show us. Oh, unmute yourself, Mark.
There we go. I'm sorry. And this is it's a piece of cherry, which is, it's kind of interesting. And going back on what Mike said, the cherry, if you're just outside of the center, when you sand it a little bit on the, I guess this is the Cambrian part or Cambria. If you sand it just a little bit too much, it comes out, it's hard to see, but it's a little bit thinner than the rest here. So I learned a little something about cherry, but burnt this in here, burn it down on the bottom. And then I literally on another piece, torched something. So I got it's a crotch piece of elm. And on this one, just turned it kind of like, well, this, you know, kind of like an airplane wing. You get a lot of air when you're turning this. And then at the end, like I think earlier someone had showed where they took a wire brush, and I took the wire brush in here and cut these grooves in it, and then literally took a torch to it and then sanded off, you know, the extra, you know, burnt part, and then just put a shellac finish on it and then waxed it.
Very different.
Did you set off the smoke alarm?
Oh yeah, I could have. It was smoking. It was
well, thanks, Mark. That's very neat. Thanks for sharing. Anthony, I think you're up next.
All right, I gotta get.
Did you turn that cat?
Yeah,
I was going to say, you turned the cat.
Well, I did too. This is a sphere, and
and it is sandblasted.
Yeah, and I decided not to use oak because it's real hard, and so this is old growth fir.
Oh, okay.
I did another one. I did another one out of cocobolo, and I don't think it looks quite as good.
It's hard over the camera to see the detail in it.
And so what I did was...
and that's because it's tighter grained and harder wood?
Oh, it's much harder wood, yeah. And there's, let me figure it out here. I can't figure out where it goes. There we are. And so this one is a little box. And I decided not to try to sandblast the inside because I figured it was going to come back in my face.
Yeah. Name it right back to you.
Yeah. And so the fir has linseed oil, and the cocobolo just has wax. And I didn't buff the cocobolo. I didn't want it to fill up those holes. I think they were it's really kind of the only distinctive feature is the white bowls. So
Looks like a walnut.
yeah, feels like a walnut.
It'll be interesting. I'll see that in person sometime, Anthony. I got to see that texture a little closer.
Okay.
But very cool. All right, let me see. I'm going to go on down the list. I don't see any other hands up besides mine, but if anybody has something they're going to show.
Yeah, I would like to.
There we go. Hi, Effie.
Hi. So, where is it? I tried to do some embellishment. This is the logo of the tourism ministry. It's those two spies that this biblical story, and this
It's like
is
a vineyard.
yeah. And another thing that I want to share is okay, 1 second. This is a piece of mesquite that I received from Anne, and I made a lidded box with it's a mesquite with a hinge and a magnet. So, hey Anne, this is Effie. I think you gave me this mesquite, and I made a lidded box with a hinge for a salt something. It came out very nice. Thank you.
Good job, Effie. I like your
Extra
video
points
production
for
too.
video.
Yeah, get extra points. All right. Is there anybody else on the challenge? All right, I'm going to show you what I started with. See if I can get some light over here. It's going to be hard. Basically, when I cut a sphere, and my goal was to, if nothing else, I was going to carve on it and throw sand at it and said it was sandblasted. But whenever I cut a sphere and I see these concentric circles, it always reminds me of an eyeball. And so using this photograph as my guide, which is a chameleon eye. Here's a little more of the chameleon. I put a little color and added an eyeball and some color, and then painted on some scales to make my own chameleon eyeball out of the, and I am following, these circles are the circles of the growth rings that were in the piece. But I did pick a hard piece of wood. It was a piece of Bradford pear that had been, a limb that had been cut off. So I don't even know if it would have sandblasted very well, as hard as wood as it was. But I had fun making eyeballs, and whenever I cut spheres. Without realizing it, I didn't realize that carving was going to be part of the challenge. But that was something that I had received a nice chunk of ash from my boss. He gave me a couple pieces, and I brought one in, and it had been a while since I'd turned green wood, and I ended up creating a vase and then carved a leaf pattern around the vase, and I left some bands up at the top here, and I ended up turning kind of a leaf pattern with, like, I don't know, bamboo or something that pokes through that. But it is a two-piece turning. It's a genie bottle turning, basically. And so I have a seam that was occurring right here at the top of where I had created the band to carve from. And it's not real obnoxious, but it was there and it bothered me that my eye would see it. And so this Saturday at Open Shop, I had done some sketches of trying to do a band where the lid would set inside the band so that if you carve something, you would not see that seam. And I'm not quite there, but this is a jewelry box I'm working on with kind of a similar type leaf pattern. This leaf pattern, though, is all consistent around it. I basically took the diameter, I took a sheet of paper around the diameter, figured out what my overall length was, and then started folding the paper until I had 16 squares that I could mark off to give me equal spacing for all the leaves. But then, if you can see, my lid sets down on this edge, and it allows these other pieces to come up. And I also put a little bit of, I don't know how to show it, a little shape so that one side of the leaf's going to tuck in and the other side of the leaf's going to appear to float out. And it kind of almost appears like it comes out of the wood then, and you see, you know, the gaps down there, and you see that point coming out from the leaf and stuff. So it was a fun practice. I'm excited to see it when it all is has, you know, a nice dark finish. I plan on fluting around the top and bottom all around the edge, and I think ultimately make it so that when you take the lid off, you can set it down and use it as a second storage container if you don't want to just put the lid onto the box itself. But those were my attempts that I guess fell into the criteria of the challenge this month. So I think that's it. Kevin, I don't recall, how do we draw? You guys draw for a winner of the challenge?
Well, I'm going to review the tape of the meeting and all the participants in the challenge. I will use a random number generator to draw the name of one of the participants at random, and I'll email them numbers of 2 craft supply coupons. And we'll put the list of participants and the winner in the newsletter. So Sean will tell us about that in the newsletter.
That sounds great. Linda said put her name in twice. All right. Well, thanks everybody that participated in last month's challenge. Get ready for next month's challenge, because you got to do a little thinking, it sounds like, based on what they've put out there for us. So I'm excited to see what happens next month. All right. Let me see if I can get my hand to remove lower hand. Okay. If everybody hits the lower hand that had their hand raised, I'm going to move along to the show and tell portion of our meeting. If you have an item that you want to show and tell on, now would be the time to put your hand up. I see a couple. Ann, Melina, and Mike Thomas, you were intending to show us something on show and tell, right?
No.
No,
I don't have any show and tell.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, I do have one. I have one.
Okay. And Sue and Anthony, I see that your hand popped up, so I'll be calling on you next. What do you got there, Mike?
This is a piece of wet elm that hasn't been turned yet.
I was going to say, I don't think you've turned much.
It's going to be. You see, I did seal the ends of it. It weighs about 30 pounds, but it's, what, 7.5 by 7.5 by 15 on the 4th of July.
Wow.
So anyway, that's my show and tell.
Good job. All right. Sue, you want to show us something today?
Yes. Let's see if this actually shows up here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
This is mimosa. About a year ago, I had a mimosa tree in my front yard, and July 3rd of last year, it fell over. So I retrieved some wood from it, and I took it into open turning, and Anthony helped get it cut up and on the lathe. And then because it was real wet at the time, I had let it sit for a long time, and I finally finished it about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's got a pretty grain pattern. I don't think I've ever seen a mimosa wood. So
Nice looking wood.
yeah, very nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Thanks for sharing that. All right, Anthony, what do you got to show us now?
I did a little, uh-oh, I had things rolling around. I did a little hollow form.
Oh, wow. Oh, I remember you starting that.
It's out of a piece of wood that I got a long, long time ago and left in the shop, and it cracked up. And so it was just sitting there, and I was just sitting there, and so we decided to get together.
It looks like you got it turned without blowing up, right?
Mostly, yeah. Yeah.
One more cut.
What?
One more cut.
One more cut, yeah. It's linseed oil again.
That's what
That's all I
you
brought.
All right. Okay, well, let me look down through here. I don't see any other hands raised, but if anybody wants to just, oh, Dave, okay. David's got a thumbs up. I'm sorry, I didn't see your thumbs up, yeah. You're good, Dave, take over.
Okay, what I have here is a piece of oak that I turned, and I call my wash basin turning.
Jeez.
And it had a negative recess, you might say, on the back of it. And I thought I could get it turned out, but as it turns out, yeah, not quite. So I think it's an interesting texture feature. Interestingly enough, while it was in the lathe from one night to the next, that maybe I didn't cover it, just sitting there, it did open up in the interior portion. So it got some filling, has these crack features. Design features are really hard to predict, you know.
Yeah.
But the reason I want to talk a little bit about this particular piece is this is what was called shake oak. And my son's next door neighbor had a 70-foot walnut tree taken down. A good portion of it's in my driveway. And it was 24 inches 30 inches at the base. And I have a 24-inch piece of the base on my lathe right now. But this shake oak was in the next door neighbor, and in the top of it had 3 branches that came apart. So it's really a crotch that was up in the tree. Now this tree is a really big oak, but this oak is the hardest oak I have ever cut with a chainsaw. It basically just sit there in little pieces, like really, really fine dust came out, and not much else happened. But it just sharpened the blade, so it was not the blade. But I had never heard of a shake oak, but it's what they make shakes out of. And I don't know
Shake shingles?
the name.
Shake shingles? Okay.
Shakes, you know, but it's a particular oak that they make shingles from. And
okay.
It's hard as, and I can tell you from cutting it with my tools, it's damn hard. You get to sharpen your tool every 2 minutes, you know. And but it turned out fine, you know, and I think it'll serve a nice purpose. So I'm happy with it. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick. It's not very thick.
Oh wow! And how big a diameter is that? About 16?
It's not 16 quite, because it's fit on the other side of my lathe when I got it turned down this far. So it's got to be about 14 inches.
Okay.
But it's beautiful. A nice color. I did a fruitwood stain on it, and it's got some real nice color, and you can see the 3 crotches there, here, and the limbs, you know. So,
yes.
Anyway, that's my show and tell.
Well, and it's so hard on these videos to really see the detail and stuff. So once we get back into a meeting in the shop, we'll all have to bring in some of our old items too that we're really proud of, and we'll have everybody so that they can touch and feel and see them a little bit better. But boy, I appreciate everybody that takes the time and effort to do the monthly demonstration challenge and to do the show and tell. I just heard somebody, is that Effie?
I think Kevin.
Oh, I see Mark Inman.
Kevin's got a show and tell.
Kevin, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't. Mark Inman does, maybe.
No,
Okay.
I was just clapping. No show and tell for me.
Oh, okay.
I think we're all done. I got nothing.
Okay, I don't see anybody else. Smaller group tonight. I appreciate you guys taking the time and jumping into the meetings. I think it's nice of Kevin to host these and help us all get together and continue our tradition of a monthly meeting and a monthly demonstration. And it's always good to see your faces and hear your voices. So please continue to come to these meetings. I would hope that everyone that's here tonight will be at our next demonstration. I'm hoping that we have even more people, but I know things get a little hectic over the summer sometimes, and travel plans and different things. I guess this summer not as much travel plans as usual, but I do appreciate that we have members that are joining and that are staying active and participating in the events and the things that we've got going on. So thank you all. I think that does it. I got through our announcements earlier. Sean, you got anything you need to share?
Nope, not a thing.
All right. Effie, thanks again for bringing us a safety minute. Good to see everybody, and
Special
look
thanks
forward.
to Jack.
Say what?
Special thanks to Jack again for loaning his shop and all the technology.
The production of your presentation, the two of you did a great job, and I really appreciate it. It was something that's it's a difficult turning, and to be able to present it in such short time, but with such amount of information was excellent. So thank you both again. Appreciate it.
You got time to entertain a question?
I do.
I've got this piece of walnut. It's the base of a tree, 24-inch cut down from 30 inches. And I'm going to attempt to turn it into a very thin piece, which I hope will warp. Now, my question is, has anybody had experience cutting end grain on a whole tree basis? Because it is the nastiest thing I have ever begun to cut in terms of, thin, fine slime, basically.
What are you using to cut it with?
I've tried scrapers, which I've had the best luck with. And of course, a sharp bowl gouge, just turning, like you're taking a thin cut. But with the wood being wet, it is a real mess.
Those hunter cutter tips are made for end grain hollowing. Those things are incredible.
What's the name again? I just didn't hear you.
Hunter, Hunter. You can ask Kevin about them, or Kevin can tell us about them. But they cut end grain like it's incredible. It's like a laser.
Okay, that's good to know. Somebody knew something.
They're really nice. I cut a lot of end grain on wet wood, and I've used hunter tools and just sharp gouges, and they both work pretty good. Now the hunter tools are great for the inside because you can't get a gouge at the right angle. Yeah. You can't turn the handle enough to orient the cutter to cut it properly. So hunter tools work great, but on the outside, on the bottom, regular gouges work great. You can angle them any which way you want.
Now, to face it, I have thought this is going to be a challenge.
Anthony's done a lot too.
Anthony and Rick both have done some really thin stuff and then let it warp out. But I don't know if I can't remember if what I remember from Rick. I thought it was maybe an end grain turning. So you might talk to Bywater. He might have some ideas on that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I did. I knew that somebody needed to tell me something.
The only thing you gotta know for sure is if you're turning real thin end grain, you can't let the bottom be flat because it'll crack. You have to let it have a chance. As it shrinks, it will either pooch down or up, so right. Whichever direction you create the curve.
Yep. I got one piece done of about a 12 or 14-inch tree, and it did a very nice job of cupping and turned out great. But this one is different.
Different wood, different activity, right?
Well, anyway, thank you guys. It was fun doing the demo.
Well, thank you for your,
did.
yeah, thank you for putting it together, David. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
All right,
thank
I
you,
think I'm
Dave.
going to wrap up tonight's meeting. Again, I appreciate Stuart. Hi, Stuart. I didn't say hi to you. How you doing? Good to see everybody, faces. Been enjoying my time when I do get into the open shop, just being around woodturners and talking woodturning for a change. So hope to see everybody in the shop at one of these days, but we'll struggle through another month of this COVID stuff and see where we're at in August. But I imagine we're going to be probably in similar shape in August based on everything I'm seeing. So stick with us and keep coming to our team meetings or our Zoom meetings when you have an opportunity. Also, if you're not aware, Kevin opens a open shop Zoom meeting every Saturday that people just bounce into and bounce out. There's a lot of conversations. Many of them don't have anything to do with wood turning, but you're talking amongst friends and everything. So it's a good time to join if you haven't done that so far. So I think that's it tonight. I appreciate everybody's attendance, and I appreciate the presentation and the time that was put into that, guys. Effie, as always, thank you for your safety minute. Kevin, as always, thank you for getting this all organized and out to everybody so we could snap into it. I'll see you all, if not before, I'll see you all next month. Bye,
Be
Jerry.
safe. See ya.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Oh,
Bye, guys.
Iffy, thanks for recording this. Appreciate it.